Good evening, and welcome to the Revere City Council meeting of Monday, September 23rd, 2019. The folks in the audience, would you please join the Revere City Council in a salute to our flag? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call of the members. Councilor Janino? Here. Here. Councilor Keefe?
Here.
Here. Councilor McKenna is absent. Councilor Morabito?
Here.
Here. Councilor Novoselsky?
Here.
Here. Councilor Patch?
Here.
Here. Councilor Powers?
Here.
Here. Councilor Rizzo? Here. Councilor Rotundo is absent. Councilor Zambuto?
Here.
Here. And Council President Guanasso?
Here.
Here. Quorum is present. Approval of the journal of the regular meeting of September 16th, 2019.
Move the motion. So ordered. Prior to this evening's meeting, I've received 2 calls from 2 colleagues this evening. Councilor McKenna, unfortunately, is not feeling well, and she will be sorely missed tonight, as she always will be. And Councilor Rotundo also called and said he can't make it either. Thank you. He might be, he might not be, he may be, he might come, he may not come. There's about 8 messages I got, so different things. Okay.
Calendar item number 3, hearing called is ordered on a joint petition submitted by National Grid and Verizon to install a new pole along with wires and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures on Revere Street to provide power for a new building at 571 Revere Street.
Any proponents? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? State your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Council. My name is Mike Cordema from National Grid Electric, 170 Medford Street, Malden. There is a new building going in, and the best way to give them clean power would be to install this inline pole, give them their siphon to the pad straight in on the property. Thank you.
If they don't get that pole, would be delayed in the process of building? They would be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other proponents wishing to speak on behalf of the proponent? So, any opponents? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Again, come, state your name and address for the record, please.
Eric Lampadecchio, 43 Tapley Avenue. I understand this is a public hearing. I just have some questions about this project. I know it came before the council, more specifically the Conservation Commission over a year ago, and they rejected the application. Then it was appealed at the state level. Can anybody explain how big this building is, or what exactly this building is now, or what it's become?
Actually, before us is the pole, and only the pole. Those particulars would have to be received in the city clerk's office. We're talking about a pole fixture right now. That's the only thing we can speak on.
Okay, understood. Just for the council's edification, I did read that this was now for a 51-unit proposal for apartments at the former Cove site. I just have a few questions for the neighborhood. What impact is this installation going to have on the area in terms of construction timelines, road closures, and power outages for the nearby residents?
Would you like, the member of the National Grid, would you like to respond to that?
Sorry, I can repeat it for you. I'm just curious.
Actually, what we're going to do here, before we do this, the privilege comes first to the councilors. And so, Eric, I understand your concerns. We can bring them up after the council has had an opportunity to also say their piece.
Thank you.
Any councilors wishing to speak? Councilor Powers.
Mr. President, that in fact is the area I represent. And several months ago, maybe a year ago, when this was proposed, it was 71 units, I believe. I was 100% against it. And I know Mr. Lampadecchio asked what type of an impact this was going to have. It would have a terrible impact. That's one of the most heavily trafficked areas in the city. To put anything there on that scope is totally ridiculous. And I will vote for this. I will vote against this when it comes before the City Council. Again, thank you.
We could possibly vote on this evening. So if we bring it up for a roll call this evening, then so be it. Councilor Rizzo.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'd also like to express my dissatisfaction with this proposal. Not so much with the pole, obviously. I mean, something that goes there is going to obviously require power. But here's just yet another example of a commercial piece of property now being used once again for, in this case, 51 apartments. I mean, just when you think, you know, that you might be able to see some light at the end of the tunnel, which we haven't, we have to now entertain another project like this. So that area, as Councilor Powers alluded to, I mean, how much more heavy can traffic get down at the corner of Revere Street and North Shore Road? And now the thought of all those rental units being constructed there and everything that construction brings with it, the rats, the traffic, obviously the awful, like the delays that we're going to see because of the lighting situation down there. It's going to be a real problem. So I'm going to obviously be voting in opposition to this as well this evening if it does come to a vote. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any other councilors wishing to speak? Councilor Keefe.
Thank you, Councilor. Mr. President, I feel the same sentiment. Obviously, the neighborhood developers brought this project forth, and we voted it down. The city was not in favor of this. This went to a state and federal level, and of course, like they normally do, they skirted and got their approvals that way, which we all know how they do that. So I will be voting against any power at that site. Let them figure out how to get that done.
Thank you,
Us.
Councilor.
Thank you.
Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. President. A while back, we permitted something for neighborhood developers, and we were promised Revere residents. It's called One Beach. I said after that betrayal that I would never vote for a permit for neighborhood developers again. I'm staying consistent with my statement, and I will not vote for this. So, I mean, if it was just for the power, I'd certainly vote for the power, but I can't support neighborhood developers in any way. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. That's why I predicated my comments to the proponent representing National Grid. Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you, Council President. I believe either this session or the next, that until neighborhood developers comply with the auditing process, I will not be voting for anything related to their projects, period.
Thank you, Councilor. And that's why I stated previously, would this, a no vote, would this delay the project? And he said yes. So at this particular time, it's shall the City Council grant the petition of National Grid and Verizon to install a new pole at 571 Revere Street. I'm asking for a roll call.
On the roll call vote, Councilor Janino.
No.
No. Councilor Keefe.
No.
No. Councilor McKenna is absent. Councilor Morabito.
No.
No. Councilor Novoselsky.
No.
No. Councilor Patch.
No.
No. Councilor Powers.
Absolutely not.
No. Councilor Rizzo.
No.
No. Councilor Rotundo.
It's a trifecta, no.
No. Councilor Zambudo.
No.
No. And Council President Guanasso.
No.
No. The petition is denied.
Thank you.
Calendar item number 4, hearing called as ordered on the application of Keenan Bryn Network Building and Consulting, seeking permission from the Revere City Council to install small cell wireless equipment onto an existing wood utility distribution pole owned by National Grid near 11 Clark Road, Revere, Mass.
Any proponents, anyone wishing to speak in favor of this proposal? Nobody? Anybody wishing to speak in you speaking in favor? A proponent? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this proposal? State your name and address for the record, please.
Wayne Rose, 19 Thorndike Street, Revere. I'm just wondering, are any of these have to do with 5G?
Yes, they do.
They do.
Yes.
I'm dead set against that, and I think all you should be. 5G towers, there's a lot of concern about cancer. So
Okay.
that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any city councilors wishing to speak?
Mr. President.
This is going to zoning. By the way, it's going to zoning if Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I know there's a lot of these that were proposed, and I don't believe we approved the last group. I think it just went into Never Never Land, and I hope that these happen. I have received calls from my constituents down in the Garfield area, and They are absolutely against this, and I will honor their views, and when the time comes, I will vote against them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Keefe.
I agree. I'm the same as Ira. We can talk about these all day long. The city council hasn't been in favor of these. And I know that there's some federal guidelines where we're not allowed to vote based on health concerns. I'll go with the aesthetic concerns that they pose to our neighborhoods, and they're a blight to our properties. So simple as that. I'll be voting against these when they do
Okay.
go in front of us.
Again,
Thank you.
it's going to the zoning subcommittee for their review. All in favor? All opposed? Zoning subcommittee.
Calendar item number 5, hearing called is ordered on the application of Keenan Bryn Network Building and Consulting, seeking permission from the Revere City Council to install small cell wireless equipment onto an existing wood utility distribution pole owned by National Grid near 385 Beach Street.
Any proponents? Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this proposal? Seeing none. Any opponents? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this proposal? State your name and address for the record, please.
Wayne Rose, 19 Thorndike Street. Once again, my concerns are about cancer-causing 5G towers. Thank you.
Thank you. Any city councilors wishing to speak? Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also will be voting against this when it does come before the full council.
This is going to zoning
I
subcommittee.
understand that. I said when it does come before
Thank
the
you.
full council.
Any other councilors wishing to speak?
I don't know enough about it, and I want to be enlightened a little more before I vote for any of these things. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Zoning subcommittee.
Calendar item number 6, hearing called is ordered on the application of Dr. Christopher Page, seeking permission from the Revere City Council to expand a non-conforming structure and use, which is a dentist office within the RB district, by constructing a new addition at 26 Central Ave, Revere, Mass.
Proponents, state your name and address for the record, please.
I'm not supposed to be nervous once I stand up, but I'm nervous before I stand up. David, I didn't know I was a comedian. My name is David Jakewith, 81 Railroad Avenue, Raleigh, Mass., and I'm the architect on board for this presentation and hopefully to build this addition, which is 20 by 30. It's around the corner on Central Ave, 26 Central Ave. And we're expanding the parking there. There's presently a dental office, and we're expanding it by 3 chairs. Chris Page is here, and we're eliminating 1 residential unit to expand the office on the first floor. There are 2 residential units on the second floor, which will remain. It seemed like I don't take cases that I don't think are good, and I think this is a good one. The practice has been there for 40 years, and the new generation is working there now and needs more equipment and more space and more people a little bit, but we're expanding the parking lot to accommodate them. There's a couple trees, we're saving one, and I hope to move another one. So we're trying to stay a little green, but that's basically what is on board. I don't know if anybody had seen the paperwork that came in or not. Does anybody want one?
We can review that during the zoning subcommittee hearing.
I've got 5 copies, thanks.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor?
Good evening, Michael
State your
Tucker,
name and
9
address for the
Ellerton
record,
Street,
please.
Revere, Mass. I am definitely in favor of this. This is a business that has been here for almost 40 years, a little bit over. The design I've looked at, the layout is very good. They're keeping the 12 parking spaces in the back. I think this is no problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr.
Any
President?
other proponents? State your name and address for the record, please.
Wayne Rose, 19 Thorndike Street, Revere, Mass. I think the gentleman has a great business now. He's just looking to put some more equipment in his building. It's all handicap accessible. I think that it's a great project for us.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Any opponents wishing to speak? Please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Eleanor Raffa, and I reside at 20B Central Ave in Revere. I would like to thank the Revere City Council and Council President Mr. Granasso for the opportunity to speak on the proposed plan to expand the nonconforming structure by constructing a new addition at Lot C at 26 Central Ave, requested by Dr. Page. While I congratulate Dr. Page on his growing practice, I do have a few concerns with the proposed expansion and addition. My major concern is the increase in traffic and parking Dr. Page's practice will bring to that end of Central Ave and Broadway. The increase of traffic and congestion in Revere the last few years is undeniable. The increase in traffic and congestion on Central Ave and Broadway is problematic for the residents of Central Ave. The addition of MGH has made the corner of Central Ave and Broadway impassable at times. Patients park on the street, taking the limited parking available for the residents in blocked driveways. The traffic entering and exiting the Citizens Bank parking lot backs traffic onto Central Ave, which makes getting in and out of my driveway impossible some days. Dr. Page's current practice is 2 lots down from Citizens Bank, which is like 1 lot away from my house. Currently, Dr. Page patients park on Central Ave, and he does provide parking in the back for his patients and his tenants, where the proposed lot, in addition, will take place. Where are those cars going to park if the lot is used for the proposed building? I did take a picture from my window because it's right there, and there was like at least 9 or 10 cars that park there daily, so that is my concern. Where are they going to go? I know he addressed it by adding the lot, but that is a major concern. In the addition of traffic, with the increase in his practice, we do share common driveways, so the in and out of cars, even though there is a parking lot going in and out of my driveway. My other concern is having a commercial building in my backyard. Central Ave is a residential area, and I would love to keep it that way. We are surrounded by commercial buildings, Citizens Bank on one side, on the other is the TD Bank, Walgreens, Rite Aid, they're all there. My property, which is located at 1820, along with my neighbors, which is 2224 Central Ave, and Dr. Page lot is all open. You can see from right through. And my concern is that the building is going to turn our residential area into a commercial lot. I would like to thank you for your time. I truly hope you consider how adding the structure to Central Ave will impact the residents that live on Central Ave. We are the ones that have to deal with the traffic, the lack of parking, having to look at another commercial building in that area, in our own backyard. There are many non-Revere residents that own property in Revere. They build, they rent, and they live in other cities and communities, while the residents of Revere, like me, are left to deal with the ramifications of having another commercial building built in their backyard. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Again, come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, please, after you hit the button. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm Victoria DeChico. I live at 18 Central Avenue in Revere, and I just want to raise some of the same concerns that the previous speaker did. And it's mostly about the parking and the traffic concerns that we have in our building, because we are flanked by businesses. We have the, as she said, and I don't want to keep going over the same thing, but we have the Mass General Hospital and the bank across the street from us. And first thing in the morning, the employees come and they all park in front of our buildings all day long. They're 8 hours, 9 hours, however long they're working. So that's going to eliminate any kind of parking for the residents. And when they come in, they frequently, they park so close to the driveway that you can't get in and out of the driveways. My only concern with this would be they're going to be sharing that driveway. Again, I guess there's going to be 12 spaces, which is great. If the patients conform to that, if they come in and they go out as they should, because currently they are parking on the street, and there's very limited space on the street. And actually, the residents can't even park on the street. So when the patients come in and out, we see them doing that. They don't go in the back of the space. and we have all of that traffic coming from Broadway onto Central Avenue, both directions. So I'm just more concerned about the traffic flow and whether or not the patients will actually abide by going in, parking where they're supposed to, and coming out. And that's my concern. Thank you very much for listening to me.
You're up. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Sure. You're going to speak in opposition? This is the portion of it that's opposition. Discussion will take place after the council speaks. Yes, you can ask. And this is going to zoning subcommittee, by the way. You can ask all the questions you want at that particular case. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Seeing and hearing none. Any councilors? Councilor Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is in Ward 4, and I'm very familiar with both property owners that have come up to speak. What I would ask, and I know this is going to go to zoning, and we would have to do some consideration, is what I would ask for both the residents of 20 and 22, and obviously the business owners of Page Dental, is to figure out how this can be better, if it's going to be better or worse for the neighborhood. And if you can make it better for the neighborhood, then I think that the neighbors would be obviously happy about that. There's some pros, obviously, with the added parking and the reduction of residential units, but some of the cons making the neighborhood less of a neighborhood and more commercial. Some people love that, some people obviously don't. I would just suggest that if the neighbors can get more on board and everyone can get on the same page to make it a total pro, then you'd probably get a lot of buy-in from the city council. If that's not going to happen, typically when the direct abutters are not in favor, it's going to be very challenging. So I would expect that would happen before the zoning subcommittee. Thank you.
Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you. Perhaps you can refresh my memory, but this is neighborhood business, if I'm not mistaken? Say it again, please? No, I know what it is. I'm talking about the zoning. And, yeah. So one of the reasons why, for me, I think a moratorium would have worked is in areas like this, you try to downzone and prevent things like this from happening. Revere Street is another place where this is prominent, as well as parts of, I believe, Malden Street, where there's some RV there. So this is where we're at this point. And so let's see what happens. I am not favorable at this point.
Again, I want to reiterate that it's going to the zoning subcommittee. Councilor Morabito.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that, if not already sent to the abutters, if you can send a notice informing them of the next meeting. The city clerk can do that.
Of the zoning subcommittee
Zoning
meeting?
subcommittee would have to be established by the zoning chairman, who's Councilor Zambudo.
So I would just like to make sure that the abutters get sufficient notice prior to that meeting so they can make plans to attend.
Once Councilor Zambudo establishes a meeting date, he can then, in turn, tell the clerk, and she can post that. Councilor Rizzo.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Obviously, this is going to zoning, and I think those were good recommendations for the neighbors to talk with the proponent and see how it all works. But this is a great example of a neighborhood standing up for themselves, and it's great for you guys to be up here tonight, voicing your concerns, voicing your opinions, because that's how you get the attention of people who actually vote on these projects. So I just want to say to you, hopefully it works in your schedule. You can come to the next zoning meeting. But if by some chance you can't, you've already made your statement, and you should be applauded for that, for standing up for your neighborhoods. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Obviously, I'm going to hold a zoning meeting as soon as possible. However, I would suggest that the proponents get together with the neighbors in a maybe informal meeting so they know a lot more about what you propose to do, and maybe we can work out some of the issues they have before the zoning subcommittee, and then whatever needs to be fine-tuned in the zoning subcommittee. So I would ask my colleague from Ward 4 to facilitate that meeting, or in conjunction with the neighbors. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Zambudo. Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, Councilor Zambudo took the words right out of my mouth. That's what I was going to recommend, and I think it's a great idea. I make a habit of it whenever there's something going on with neighborhoods and neighbors and/or businesses together. But it's good for you folks to get together before you come into zoning. Hopefully, you can come to some kind of agreement, and hopefully everybody will be happy, and then we can come in here and put the thing to bed. So I would recommend it very highly. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Anyone in the audience wishing? Zoning Subcommittee. We ask that the chair set one up as soon as possible.
Next available meeting.
We're going to meet, the next available meeting is going to be, I'll give you the date right now, October 7th.
That's fine. There'll be a zoning subcommittee October 7th.
What time, Counselor? There's already a meeting scheduled for 5 p.m. Public
Well-
safety.
We'll work it out.
Okay.
Yes, September 30th, for everyone's edification, is a Jewish holiday.
Next item is the Legislative Affairs Subcommittee report.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. We took up both matters tonight, and both were voted on in the no unanimously.
Okay, that's the chairman's report on a roll call to both issues. Calendar item number 7.
On the motion that the following non-binding question be placed on the general election ballot, should the City of Revere stop all new residential construction of apartment buildings 8 units or greater for 1 year? Councilor Janino?
No.
No. Councilor Keefe?
No.
No. Councilor McKenna is absent. Councilor Morabito?
No.
No. Councilor Novoselsky?
No.
No. Councilor Patch?
No.
No. Councilor Powers?
No.
No. Councilor Rizzo?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Rotundo?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Zambudo?
No.
No. And Council President Guanasso?
No.
No. The motion fails.
Mr. President,
Councilor Novoselsky.
reconsideration, hope it will not
On the
prevail.
reconsideration with the hopes it does not prevail. All in favor, opposed? So ordered. Reconsideration does not prevail. Calendar item number 8.
Sure. Motion presented by Councilor Rotundo that the mayor provide the emails, names, and addresses of all 311 inquiries made to the City of Revere. Further, note each and every 311 user signs a privacy release prior to using 311. Additionally, under the state records law, this information is public.
Roll call.
Roll call on the motion. Councilor Janino?
No.
No. Councilor Keefe?
No.
No. Councilor McKenna is absent. Councilor Morabito? No. Councilor Novoselsky?
No.
No. Councilor Patch?
No.
No. Councilor Powers?
No.
No. Councilor Rizzo? No. Councilor Rotundo?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Zambudo?
No.
No. And Council President Guanasso?
No.
No. The motion fails.
Mr. President, reconsideration, hope it will not
Councilor
prevail.
Novoselsky, with the hopes that it does not prevail. All in favor? Reconsideration does not prevail.
Pursuant to Rule 23 of the City Council Rules of Order, the following motions are being reported out of committee with the recommendation to be placed on file. Calendar item number 9, motion presented by Councilor Morabito that the mayor request the city solicitor to create an ordinance to include provisions for the maximum local tax option and excise tax on short-term rentals.
Councilor Morabito.
Keep in
Remaining, and the wishes of the chairman, remain in committee. Calendar item number 10.
Calendar item number 10, motion presented by Councilor Morabito that the mayor be requested to establish a fund which allows 30% of revenue from any short-term rental local tax to go towards affordable housing assistance, subject to approval of the city council.
Councilor Morabito.
Mr. President, keep in committee, please.
On the wishes of the maker of the motion to remain in committee, all in favor, opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 11, motion presented by...
Which one, sir? Calendar item number 10? Is
Yeah.
it- Okay.
It's a very simple motion. However, it has an essence to it. And that is that the mayor be requested to establish a fund. That fund will come from 30% of revenue from any short-term rental local tax. The essence of this motion follows. It goes towards affordable housing assistance. And the point is that not everybody who lives in the city of Revere does not need help. There are several people who live in the city of Revere who do need help. And that is what this motion provides, to help those people who need help, affordable housing assistance. And I fully support this motion, and I would hope that all of you do. Thank you.
I want everyone to be mindful of the fact that this is remaining in committee, and we can do further discussion and bring up relevant ideas as Bill Jackson has just done. Brevity is the case. Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you. I think the issue is that, as Capek points out, we have well over 2,500 people that need assistance in the city of Revere. More importantly, the issue is how do you take this fund, generate it to where it needs to go, means test it. There needs to be a lot of front-end and back-end work regarding this particular motion that's not there. So it's something that needs to be worked out. This is something that myself and other people have put forward together in a different framework. Anybody that is on this board should be supportive of this. Thank you.
Councilor Keefe.
Just speaking in regards to all of the short-term rental motions, and we're going to probably hope to keep them all in committee. These are all going to be taken up. I know that you've been a big proponent. These will all be taken up most likely before the end of the year. Just due to the lawsuits between the city of Boston, city of Cambridge, other states, we've been trying to navigating the system to see how we can fall in the middle without having to go through legalities and let other cities and states determine what we can and cannot do. But the hopes is to have this presented to the city council before the end of the year. Thank you.
Because we showed patience, the city of Boston has come up with a plan that's acceptable to everybody, including Airbnb. So we save a lot of money in legal fees in terms of trying to prepare something. All we have to do is copy the Boston plan and insert our particulars, and we have a good running game plan that's been accepted by Airbnb. Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you. Real briefly, Mr. President, this motion has a lot of merit, but as my colleague to my right did say, it needs to, in the end, if we do end up enacting this particular type of motion where 30% goes, it needs to go to an agency like CAPEC. And full disclosure, I happen to be a 20-year board member of CAPEC, and I know how they help people in need. And but it, you know, I wouldn't want to see this floating around, this kind of money. It needs to be directed to an agency that knows how to help people. That's all.
Well,
Thank
I think
you.
it'd be a very useful tool to have a game plan in place, and something that's been accepted by the city. Right now, we don't have one.
No, and we're
30% of what is what? And
yeah, no. We'll certainly work
There's
it
too
out in
many
committee, and
variables. Yes, I agree with you.
that's why I'm glad it's staying in committee so we can refine
Remain
it.
in committee.
Thank you.
Calendar number 11, very important
Motion
one.
presented by Councilor Guanasso that the mayor request the city solicitor and city planner to draft a zoning ordinance amendment for a moratorium covering a one-year period relative to the conversion of single to two-family dwellings in all zoning districts in which two-family dwellings are allowed.
It's the chair's position to remain in committee.
Calendar item number 12, motion presented by Councilors Keefe and Guanasso that the mayor request the city solicitor to revise Boston's short-term rental ordinance to be applicable to the city of Revere. There has been a steady increase in the number of homes and condominiums being purchased for the sole purpose of operating short-term rental businesses, thus reducing housing stock for families and individuals looking to purchase a property in Revere to live permanently.
Councilor Keefe.
Remain in committee, please, and thank you.
Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, this is a great motion, and I don't remember if we've sent anything off to the mayor as yet for him to do anything about this. And I think this motion tells him what we want. And the city solicitor cannot do it if this sits in committee. I think we should pass this and tell the mayor that we want this to happen and tell him to get the city solicitor on it immediately. and start working on it, because I don't think it's going to do any good sitting in committee.
It's my knowledge that as we speak, the city solicitor is working on the language of the short-term rental agreement, and it's going to be beneficial to the city, and he's working on it as we speak.
And I can understand that, but this shows that this council wants it. It's not going to do any good for this motion to be sitting here. He can be working on it, but I don't know for what reason, who told him to do it before, other than just offhand. This shows that we're showing our support for it.
We've been having several
I think we ought to
meetings.
vote on this.
We've had a committee to meet several meetings, Councilor Keefe, Councilor McKenna, and myself met with the city solicitor on several occasions this past summer. And we're working on this, and we had meetings quite often. And so we got the language now that we think we can live with and test the legal stance, so. Councilor Keefe.
Excuse me, but if this is sitting in committee, where's it going to go? It's just going to sit here and die at the
It's
end of the
not
year.
going to die. We're working on it.
But it doesn't make any sense, Mr. President.
Thank you.
This thing should be working in his office, not in our committee. And I think we should take it out, vote on it, and show our
If you
support
read
on
the
it.
motion, it's that the mayor requests the city solicitor to revive Boston short term.
That's
And
correct.
That's what we're doing. We're doing that.
We're not, it's sitting in our committee, sir.
So I think
He's
not
working
doing
on it.
anything.
Councilor Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is in legislative affairs, which through that, we've invited the city solicitor in, myself, Councilor Morbido, Councilor McKenna, and Councilor Guanasso have been working on a current draft. So I agree with your urgency, and we could certainly, pass it tonight. But I'd like to gift wrap, pack it all up with the proper ordinance, pull it out of legislative affairs, and then vote it on as a council. And through myself, my word, and Council Guanasso's word, we have solemnly sworn to get this done in 2019.
Before this term ends, we're going to get
Correct.
this done. And we're also going to get off-street parking, too.
Yes.
Remaining committee.
Calendar item number 13 is a motion of Councilor McKenna. She's absent. Council President.
She asked me to hold this, and so at the request of the council, we will not act on this until the next meeting.
Calendar item number 14, late motions. Motion presented by Councilor Rotundo that the mayor request the state auditor to investigate the Revere Farmers Market, Dimple Rana, Director of Healthy Community Initiatives, to ensure they are in compliance of awarding SNAP funds to the public. Further, if they maintain records of those who receive such funds, and if they are in compliance with grant guidelines as dictated by federal and state law. Likewise, how these funds are dispersed among the public and whether there is a mean test.
Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Actually, I was spoken to by several people that had frequented the farmers market, and unfortunately, one of the vendors had told me as well that they had concerns about who was getting the funding and whether it was being distributed appropriately. I understand that there's a mechanism that they use. I think it's called a Square card, and there are other processes that take place in which money is being dispersed to the public, and I'm just wondering if this is being done appropriately, if the persons that are getting this particular funding are being selected based upon need or not. And I want to know if we're keeping records of that or not. And if we're not, then we need to, because I believe that would be out of compliance with guidelines. And I think it's very, very important.
Anyone else wishing to speak? All in favor? All opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 15, motion presented by Councilor Rotundo that the mayor request Dimple Rana, Director of Healthy Community Initiatives, to provide the Revere City Council with the demographics of the recipients funded through the SNAP program.
Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you again, Council President. Again, referring off of this, my concern is, and I would like to maximize that these funds be directed towards people in Revere and whether they're not. One of my biggest issues is by looking at the farmers market, personally, I think it's really a waste of money considering the cost of the food. And quite frankly, I'm wondering who's being serviced by these funds. And I'd like to know whether they're from Revere, whether they're not from Revere, in particular who in Revere. And I'd like to see that data.
All in favor? Councilor Morbido.
We have the Healthy Initiative Director here. I don't know if she wishes to speak, but we can probably get some information if she's willing to speak tonight. My point is, why have the speculation when we have someone right here?
Good evening, Dimple Rana, Director of Healthy Community Initiatives for the City of Revere. The matching program that the Farmers Market has is a program that is funded by the Community Development Block Grant Program, which is a federal program administered by HUD. And here in the City of Revere, it is administered by Beth Rosa. The Farmers Market over the past 5 years has received upwards of $10,000 or up to $10,000 to have match funds to qualified individuals who meet the needs of receiving these cards. These cards are distributed this past year. They were distributed based on a map provided by HUD that has listed all of the low and moderate income neighborhoods in the City of Revere where the farmers market staff outreached and tabled to, and this is only available to Revere residents. This was advertised at the senior center. This was advertised on social media. It was advertised through the department's weekly communications.
Point of order.
State your point, Councilor.
With all due respect, I'm asking for the demographics. I'm not asking for a dissertation on what this program is. I understand that they're going by a census block. The question particularly is asking what the demographics are, who is receiving these funds, and how are you mean testing them, and following who gets this fund by name. You should have this documentation. This is required by federal grant process.
Thank you, Councilor.
And following federal rules and federal guideline process through the CDBG program, we have documentation of every single person that has received these cards. And the demographics are also included in the CDBG map that has been provided in meeting low and moderate income neighborhoods and residents. And so that is the demographic of the participants the recipients of these match cards.
Council President?
Council,
The particular motion asks for the recipients themselves, the demographics, like, are they a 44-year-old male from Census Block 16014, et cetera. So these things should be readily available. You do it by card, it should have that. But then the other part of the equation is those that get the matching fund that are not on the card, those are the other parts of the process too. At least that's how it's described here in your documentation.
I don't understand the second part of your question, Councilor Rotundo.
Do you not give a matching fund for every dollar that's used by a person?
No, it's not for every dollar. The match cards are up to $20, and the demographics include seniors 62 years and older. Any senior 62 years and older automatically qualify for these funds as part of the CDBG program.
So the matching
Through the chair,
$25
Councilor.
per week
Councilor, through the chair.
match program, Mr. President?
This is not a $20 a week program. This is a one-time, one per household program for qualified individuals that meet the income requirements set forth by the Community Development Block Grant Program. I do not have the information in front of me, but I'm happy to produce this information that is produced by the federal government on the income requirements that need to be met for people to qualify for the program, which I will be happy to produce. The income criteria are people who are low income, people who are already on government assistance, and that includes our most vulnerable populations that are seniors, veterans, and people who have food insecurity issues here in the City of Revere.
Well, at the request of the councilor, then I would suggest you send that information to the city clerk so she can distribute that to all the council.
I will definitely do
Thank you.
that, Council President. Thank you.
On the
Council
motion.
President, point of
Councilor Rotundo.
Since I have Ms. Rana here, I would like to ask her a question relevant to the market policies, if I can have that latitude.
Well, if we're going to go into this kind of a conversation, I think we're going to refer this over to a subcommittee so that you can go into
Motion
the
to suspend
detail.
rules?
Motion to suspend rules. All in favor, all opposed? So ordered. Rules are suspended.
May I ask questions regarding the market policies, please?
Do you have a copy of the market policies with you?
Oh, I have it right here.
I do not have them in front of myself, no.
What's the nature of the question?
I would like to know why a particular vendor was actually given a written warning In fact, his name is Nico Kostopoulos. He runs Raw Bar. Yes, thank you, sir. And he was given a violation because he was wearing a Dan Rizzo shirt.
Mr. President,
In fact,
point of order.
Excuse me.
State your point,
Mr.
Councilor.
President, let's take the
which motion
politics
are we
out of this
talking
meeting
about?
tonight.
Councilor Rotundo has the floor.
I want to know which
Thank you.
motion he's talking about.
The rules have been suspended. I have
suspended
asked
rules.
a
He's
So
question
that means
outside
when
of that.
you can pick up anything you want when there's a
The
suspension
rules are
of rules?
suspended, sir. I have the
That
floor.
is,
Counselor.
That
wait,
doesn't
hold on,
seem
hold on,
correct.
Hold on, Counselor. I'll make a ruling right now. He's speaking in relative to the Healthy Community Initiatives. In that is substance of any of this conversation. If it's relevant to that conversation, then it's germane to the
it's
issue.
only
Absolutely.
demographics he's looking for. What's he making a big
The
McGill out of
policy,
this?
excuse me, sir, if you want to defend her
You know.
for giving a violation to
Councilor
somebody.
Rotundo.
Sir,
through
I'm
the
just
chair.
talking about the motion, and you're totally out of order as far as I'm concerned.
And I haven't been given the opportunity to produce
the-
these agreements to the full city council. And
Point of order, Mr. President.
I do not have them with me at this moment.
Point of order, Mr. President.
The
Do
chair
I not
rules
have-
that she can submit that to
I know,
the city
can I have
council
the-
for
Thank you.
review.
Thank
Do I
you,
not have the
which
floor?
I will.
Do I not have the floor?
You have the floor for one.
Thank you.
One last time, Counselor, because you're really, you're stretching
Well,
the issue.
I just want to know why he was given a fine, excuse me, a violation, a written violation, which he can produce for you, 2 violations for wearing a shirt. There is nothing in these policies, there is nothing in these rules that says he cannot wear that. It says political solicitation, political
Counselor, I do not
activities.
have the agreement in front of me right now.
Here it is. It's right here. You can look at it yourself. I can give you a copy that's in my email. He can give you a copy that's in his email.
Go ahead.
Shameful.
So
If you have a copy, I'd like to see it right now.
I would
If
like
that-
to see that copy right now as
Excuse me,
well.
wait,
And the
hold on,
full-
hold on.
And everybody should
hold
be
on.
able to see that.
Hold on. Everybody, we're going to have one speaker at a time, and we resolve the issue. The issue is at hand. Now, the individual in the audience has received 2 fines for something that Councilor Rotundo has brought to the city council's attention that could be possibly in error. Now, is there some kind of
I believe
judgment that can be made that you can correct that situation or not?
Mr. President, I'm fearful that this gentleman might file a lawsuit against the city for infringing upon his civil rights.
Well, we can't put the thoughts of what the individual might do.
I know what he said to
All
me.
I'm looking for is the resolution of the 2 fines that were given.
And I'm trying to prevent that from happening. That's why I'm
All right,
bringing it up,
Counselor,
sir.
that's enough. Now we're going to have this,
Yes, sir.
Are you going to make a disposition of this, Ms. Rana?
I'm looking through this. I don't think that this
Page
is the
9.
full ingredient. They're not numbered, the page numbers.
If you could give it to me, I'll show you where it is.
The clerk will give it to
Madam Clerk, please return it to me.
Clerk will give it to Councilor Rotundo.
Mr. President, who gives these violations?
She does.
She does? She gives out tickets?
She gives a written warning. It's by email. Actually, Nick has
She
2 of
gives
them.
out a ticket, a violation.
All
I never
vendors
knew
of the
Healthy
farmer's
Initiative-
market, all vendors of the farmer's market are required to sign a policy and vendor agreement form that each vendor has signed, and part of that, they have to abide by the agreement set forth by the farmer's market management. And that also includes things like, I can't find it right now, I'm not going to even say it because I don't have it in front of me. But it also includes things like where community groups are welcome to participate, especially if their issues relate to what the farmer's market is about.
Councilor Janino hasn't had an opportunity to speak yet. Councilor Janino.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think everyone that knows me knows I only speak when I really feel the need to, and I've been pretty quiet through this meeting, but this is ridiculous. This is a council chamber where we're supposed to conduct city business, and we're making a spectacle out of ourselves. I'm not disagreeing that it's not a serious issue. I think the councilor has merit in wanting to know more about this, but this isn't the time or the place. There should be, if we want to have a meeting, if we want to have a private conversation where we speak with the director, we're all city councilors. We have that right, and we can gather that information and stick up for people. No one should feel like their personal rights are violated. No one should feel uncomfortable, but it's not an opportunity that we take a program that may or may not be a good thing for the city and knock it down.
Thank you
So
for
let's
your-
look at this reasonably responsibly and not
Thank you.
continue to embarrass ourselves because it's embarrassing sitting up here.
The chair
Thank you,
rules,
Counselor.
the chair rules that Ms. Rana will submit that information to the city council through the clerk.
Yes.
And that'll be enough for this situation.
Thank you. Thank you, Council President.
Council
Next
President.
order of business, number 16.
Calendar item number 16, motion presented by Councilor Rotundo, that the mayor request Dimple Rana, Director of Healthy Community Initiatives, to provide the Revere City Council with a contract for each vendor who participates at the farmers market, as well as the policy surrounding its operation.
Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you, Mr. President. In particular regarding this issue, it says number 9, no participant shall engage in solicitation, collection drives, political or religious activities in the selling area. This is what the violation was taken for. This is why I have here number 16, the request for the actual vendors' contracts and their participation. I can tell you both on the website and in person that this actually has been violated. I've seen Ms. Rana with her Dimple Rana for at large in the area while this was going on, and yet she's going to give him a violation and put the city at risk because she doesn't like Councilor Rizzo. Let's call it for what it is. Not to mention what happened with my daughter. I'm not going to even go there today. But you might get sued, ma'am.
Councilor Rizzo.
I just wanted to speak on the motion because I was contacted by Nico Kostopoulos, and he was obviously very upset under the circumstances. I mean, he received an email that, out of the clear blue saying that he had violated a contract, and then he couldn't locate the item that he apparently violated. So I just want to say this, while there are places and ways to handle things, when we have the constituent here with us tonight, I think it would be wise for us to at least let them speak. We have the department head here, we've got the vendor here. If we can solve it now, to me, that would make the most sense. And as to not waste their time for coming up here tonight, we meet every so often, but they have busy lives too. And so if they're here, I think we should give them the courtesy of listening to them.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just hope that any information that is disseminated from that department doesn't include the name of some poor senior citizen or some person that is down on their luck getting a $20 or a $25 food card that can be bantered all over the city of Revere. I would strongly oppose that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Would you
It's a
come
personal
to the
privilege.
podium and state your name and address for the record, please, and just give us a brief review of what took place, and then we're going to put this to rest.
Nico Kostopoulos, 111 Mill Street. I appreciate you giving me a couple minutes to explain what happened. So I'm a vendor down the farmer's market. We were wearing Dan Rizzo shirts one day at the market. We never got a verbal warning from the department manager, Brittany, who she stated to me in a Facebook post and through email. She came and gave me a verbal warning for wearing that shirt. What happened was there was a post on Facebook that I commented on saying that I didn't believe that they did work that hard, that they left trash behind that we had to pick up on the lawn, and so forth. Dimple took exception to that and got insulted, came to my trailer, we had a conversation. After that conversation, during that conversation, she also stated she didn't want to see me wearing the Rizzo shirts. I agreed. I said, you know what, I'm not looking to start trouble. I won't wear the Rizzo shirts. Later that day, I go home, I look at the farmer's market website. She's posting political propaganda for climate change on there with the sign calling out the Speaker of the House, DeLeo. So if that's not political agenda or political speech, I'm not sure what is. But me wearing a Rizzo shirt should be the same as her posting her political agenda. I agreed not to do it, and then she posted a political statement online. When I made a comment about that, she then emailed us saying that we had a written violation for commenting on Facebook. I also have a comment on Facebook that they made telling me that because I wore the t-shirt and have Dan Rizzo as a customer who buys lobster rolls from me all the time, I'm a small business, he supports that small business. And I'm getting punished for that?
You shouldn't be.
I shouldn't be either, Counselor.
No.
And I hope that we can get to the bottom of it because...
Well, it seems like it's a self-sufficient thing here. I'm not a judge, I'm not a jury, but it seems like this thing could be worked out. I think you could wear, if you want to wear a pink and blue shirt, you can wear it. And if it says Arthur Guanasso, I'd be proud that you wear it.
I'd wear one.
Any of us would be proud that. So what your selection of wear shouldn't have anything to do with that, because you're not in a political arena at that time. You're not on City Hall property.
Point of
You're not a-
information.
You're not a...
Mr. President, point of information.
State the point.
I have the utmost respect for Nico. We go way back. We're friendly with one another. But I think there is that fine line, and you should emphasize, on city property.
I just did
We
that.
cannot.
I'm not on city property, Counselor.
I'm just peanut gallery. Relax. Okay, let's just reiterate that if it's on city property, there's campaign guidelines and ethics that say you can't advertise promoting a candidate. That's the only thing. I'm not saying who
Point of
did
order,
or,
Mr. President.
I'm not saying one did or did not. I'm want him to emphasize.
I did say that before you spoke, and I said, as long as it's not on city property, you can wear whatever you want. And there's nobody who could challenge that. I mean, and so I don't even know what the
Mr.
conversation's all about.
May I ask the person a question?
One question, Council, and then this is over, because you should get refunded your fine. That should be also notified by the city clerk. And wear whatever you want, but just don't go in City Hall with it, that's all.
And you know what, we're out in the street and we're in our trailer. It's not like I'm parading around
Go out
with
there
the
and
Rizzo
live, and we
sign out
all,
there.
we all appreciate that,
So
and that's the right thing to
I would like if you
do.
guys could have her remove those violations, because now she's threatening one more violation.
Well, I've asked her to remove
Thank
that.
you,
And,
thank you,
you know,
Councilman.
I can't direct her to.
Right.
I've asked her to remove it.
May I ask the question?
Councilor Rotundo, one last question,
Have you ever
please.
seen her wearing a political T-shirt during hours?
I have. She wears
Work
that.
hours, correct?
Yes, she wears the.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I just wanted to
Councilor
say,
Rizzo.
I just want to say one thing, just in closing, because I don't want to belabor this, and, you know, I do agree that, you know, we don't want to turn the city council meeting into a circus. I completely agree with that. But no small business, no business at all, but in particular, no small business should be bullied or threatened. I don't care which side you're on. There's no room for that. And so if there is any type of that conduct going on, it should be nipped in the bud right now and not allowed, because our small businesses throughout this city work extremely hard for everything they have, and for any type of political retaliation or like pressure being put on people for one candidate or another, not just any one candidate or another, is not right, and it shouldn't be allowed. Thank you, Mr. President.
I agree. One last statement, Ms. Rana?
Yes, I just want to also go on the record that what I do for the city of Revere is separate from what I do as a candidate, and also separate from what I do as a resident of this fine city. All right, those have always been separate things. For those on the city council and those watching, know that I keep those things very separate, very distinct, and I do not ever blur the lines around what I do for the city, again, and what I'm doing as a candidate. And I would like to also further say that the email that I sent was to the owner of Sea Level Raw Bar, who is Ralph Ravisi, right? He's the one that signed the agreement. The farmers market champions small businesses, right? We also help small businesses to succeed. This is not an attack on this business and not politically motivated. And I will read the email that I sent to
Point of order, Mr. President.
Councilor
to the vendor.
Rotundo, state your point, and this is very last. This has got to stop here, because now it's getting embarrassing for you, me, the city council, and more importantly, the people of Revere who are home watching this nonsense. An issue is brought up, it should be attended to on the merits of what was ordered. And no more conversation as to right, wrong, this and that. And I think no arm of government should ever get involved with private sector business. Never. That's what our premise is, a free American country. And so please state your last statement and make it short, and this conversation is over. And I hope that you would, in your wisdom, refund the fine monies to this individual.
There's no fine.
And we should never let this allow, and let people run their businesses as they wish, as long as they abide by the laws that have been established.
Thank you, President. So, excuse me. So this is the email that was sent, okay? And I just also want to state that the farmers market receives funding from private, state, and federal funders. So the agreements that are also put in place reflect the type of funding that we receive. So this is the email. Dear Ralph Ravisi, this email is to notify you in writing of a second violation written warning of the Revere Farmers Market 2019 Policies and Vendor Agreement, which you signed and submitted to Dimple Rana, Director of Healthy Community Initiatives, on August 28, 2019. For your reference, attached, here is the full agreement which you signed as the operator of Sea Level Raw Bar. On September 6th, you received a verbal warning from Brittany Stow, Farmers Market Manager, regarding violation of the market's 2019 Policies and Vendor Information Agreement you signed. Number 9, no participant shall engage in solicitation, collection drives, political or religious activities in the selling area. The selling area is where the vendors are. Yesterday, September 20th, you were fully briefed on the functions of the market and its purpose. In addition, your employee, Nico, was also addressed for making false statements about the operation of the market on social media with the market manager and longtime senior volunteer present, whom you both apologized to. Since last night, this behavior has continued on the Farmers Market Facebook page by your business, Sea Level Raw Bar, and employee Nico. As the owner, Ralph Ravisi, you or any other participants associated with your business decide to continue this behavior at the market or on social media, you will be terminated as a vendor as violation 3 listed below and attached in the 2019 Policies and Vendor Information Agreement. The violations, section 4, are listed. I can keep going. I'm happy to submit this email. And then
what I'm going to suggest is you sit down with the individual.
I am.
Go
That
over
has
the
been
rules
the
of
plan
order.
to do that tomorrow.
Come to determination. This is not the forum for this particular thing.
I agree.
It was brought to our attention
I agree.
by a counselor, which we must attend to. And I thank you for bringing it to our attention, Councilor Rotendo. This now is going to be resolved within your group. You sit down with the
I'm sitting down with Ralph Ravisi, who did on Friday at the farmers market, said he is going to come see me on Tuesday when I am back at work to discuss payment for the next 4 weeks or so that Sea Level Raw Bar is going to be participating. And that is still happening tomorrow. I have not canceled that. Okay. That conversation is still
happening. And bring up
happening.
this other minor conversation, too.
No, this will. He has read the
Thank
email.
you.
He acknowledged that he read
Please
the
resolve
email.
it
And he apologized as well. And he, again, is the owner of this operation.
Let's all
Thank
live
you.
together and be happy together. One last word.
Wayne Rose, 19 Thorndike Street. I'd just like to know why it is okay for her to put up a political post to Bob DeLeo about climate change. I was right there. I seen the kids. She was taking pictures of them, and she used it. It's not right. You can't ticket him for something. She did the same thing. It's ridiculous.
We agree with that. That's why we want this resolved, and we want people to Kiko?
I just want to add 2 quick things. One, in her contract, she said there is no grievance process, because I read through that thoroughly, and there is no way that I could, if I didn't bring it up to the council, to somehow get some sort of resolution. I feel that you guys are my only
Well, you should
help.
bring it to our attention. If this isn't handled properly and you don't feel like this should be brought back to the council, because we're trying to protect everybody in that community.
Thank you.
And
Especially
namely,
a small
we want
business.
small business people to know that they're welcome and they're deserving of our business. And my wife and I always tried to buy and shop locally and
Right, you
eat
have. I
locally.
see you around town all
and
the
that's the nature of what you're supposed to do as
And-
good
and-
neighbors.
And one more thing, she never emailed us about the verbal warning. If
Okay.
you can produce an email on September 6th when you told me that I violated, when did you send the email? What date was that?
Okay, tomorrow,
So you weren't-
Nico, you can straighten us
Thank you,
out tomorrow.
Thank you, Councilor.
Point of order, Mr. President.
State your point.
May we return back to...
We are.
regular
We're going to
order?
return back to the regular order of business, and
Point
we
of personal privilege, Mr. President.
state your point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to make it very clear that this place is not a circus, but to put this community at risk for a civil lawsuit is what we want to prevent. And by remedying an issue of this nature, it is not a circus. It is not to be played with. It is not to be allowed, or more importantly, to allow someone's rights to be infringed for wearing a sign, a shirt. Every bumper sticker that's on a car fits the same level of commitment as a person wearing a shirt with the name Rizzo on it. So are we going to stop cars from going to buy stuff there now? Honestly.
Good point. Well, on that note, the City Council has some good news. We're going to adjourn till October 7th. And we're hoping that everybody has a peaceful and beautiful week ahead.